What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Benny doing stuff, and I'm hitting y'all with some more fire content. So I've been seeing y'all messing with the NBA videos a lot, and I'm thinking about switching my content around to doing that. So this is just the announcement to let y'all niggas know. But today, man, we got biggest needs for every NBA team, Eastern Conference edition. Obviously, there are a lot of teams in the East that have a lot of gaping weaknesses, and there are some with not a lot of weaknesses. But today we're gonna go through that and try to dissect a couple of things for every team that they can improve on. Now, starting off this video, we have the Orlando Magic. Obviously, the Magic are a rebuilding team. They just drafted Paolo Banchero, #1 overall, and it seems to be going in the right direction. But the main thing I would want them to improve on is getting veteran guards. The playmaking on that team last year was absolutely atrocious, and just to help with the development of your younger guards like a Cole Anthony or Markelle Fultz, bringing in veteran guards should help with their development and, just overall getting better with making reads in the passing game. Next thing we're going to be talking about is the Detroit Pistons. I like what they did in the draft. They added another ball handler and Jaden Ivey to pair with Cade Cunningham. Obviously, Cade is looking like a dog. Only real two things I could say about this team right now is interior defense. Isaiah Stewart cannot be your starting center. And if he's not starting, then it's most likely Marvin Bagley III. And he's not bad, but
this nigga is trash.
He's more of a rotational player at this point in his career. And obviously, you need some three-point shooting on your team. Only one player on that roster shoots above league average from three on good volume. So that's something they can easily fix. So many good shooters in the NBA today. Up after the Pistons, we have the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, the trade for Tyrese Halliburton was terrific. You received adequate enough compensation back for Domantas Sabonis. And the only real thing I could say about this team is get Tyrese Halliburton a lob threat. Obviously, your team is rebuilding, so it's not much to say. Look at your assets next year and reevaluate them and see who all you will keep and who all you won't. Now, time for the Washington Wizards. Honestly, bro, I don't know what the fuck the direction of this team is. I think you all should just blow it up. You have pieces like a Kyle Kuzma coming off a career year. Teams definitely would look into.
Niggas smiling.
We got a KCP that just got traded to the Nuggets, so they have valuable players, but I don't know what they're thinking. They want to pay Bradley Beal $50 million. Yeah, go right ahead. And if you're going to keep Bradley Beal, at least be a competitive team. Now on to the New York Knicks. Honestly, there's not a lot of directions this team can go. You either blow it up or you trade for a star player and start retooling around him. What I think the Knicks should do is trade for a player like Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, you have the assets to do so. Players like a RJ Barrett, a Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickly, Mitchell Robinson, Cam Reddish. And plus, if you throw a few first-round picks in, you definitely could get D-Mitch and just retool from there. But if you don't get D-Mitch, man, just take the OKC route. Trade everyone and just start rebuilding, bro. Because honestly, there's not a lot that this team can do. Up next, we have the Charlotte Hornets. My God, can you niggas please get some perimeter defense? I'm tired of looking at 120 to 115 scores, bro. After your perimeter defense, just get LaMelo Ball a real lob threat. I'm assuming that Miles Bridges doesn't come back to the Hornets, seeing as what happened with him and his whole situation. But assuming he doesn't come back, which it doesn't look like he will, then attempt to get LaMelo Ball a real lob threat, someone in the pick and roll who he can build chemistry with, and attempt, and this is a big attempt, but try to get off with Gordon Hayward, man. His contract is ass, $30 million a year, and he's still got 2 more years left. He'll be, I believe, 34 when that contract ends, so yeah, just not a good contract for the team. Now, this is the area where we have the playoff teams. They have some type of identity, and their weaknesses are a lot more clear than the other teams. And the first team we're going to be talking about are the Cavaliers. I think the Cavaliers' perimeter defense could take a step up. They have good size. They have good interior defense with Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. Okoro, I believe is his name, is a good defender, but he's like one of their only good perimeter defenders. I also think the Cavs should look into getting another ball handler or ISO scorer to take the ball out of Darius Garland's hands. They do have good bench depth with Karis LeVert to help with that, but man, you need someone on the level of like DeJounte Murray, like a DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine type-ish player of Darius Garland's caliber to take the ball out of his hands, so that you all still have an effective and efficient offense. And honestly, the way you do that is trade Collin Sexton. You all might be saying, whoa, Collin Sexton's a good ISO scorer, a good ball handler, he's perfect. And they've been shown to have an efficient and effective offense without Collin Sexton versus with Collin Sexton. And Collin Sexton is still a young guard who plays somewhat good perimeter defense. He's definitely not a liability on defense and can score on his own. So he's easily worth a first-round pick. I would say at least one. Now on to the Atlanta Hawks. Dear God, man. Can you all please get some type of defense on this team? I mean, there's just no defense from interior to perimeter. I mean, what am I looking at? And I like the trade for DeJounte Murray. You acquire another ball handler, another person that can create his own shot while creating for others. And that was a great trade. Love it. It allows Trae Young to be able to move off the ball, not have the ball as much in his hands, and obviously get so drained towards the end of games and series. But a big issue for me is their big man rotation. Like Clint Capella and Josh Collins are their only true big mans. I like the guy they picked up in the draft, Onwoku. I forgot his name specifically, but I like him. But he's just too raw of a talent. Doesn't protect the rim as good, and it's just a complete liability on offense. On to the Brooklyn Nets. Honestly, there's a lot of things this team can do, and a lot of people would disagree with any one of the things that they do. Personally, what I think the best option for the Nets to do to get better is to trade Kyrie. You got to trade Kyrie, man, because he's going to leave you this offseason. He's been linked to multiple teams this free agency, like the Lakers. So obviously, you know, there's teams interested in him. Should you not trade Kyrie? Then you just got to thug it out for this season, man. You know, obviously, you don't go full rebuild, but you still have, AD still has 3 years left on his contract after this season. And you got good rotational players, plus a Ben Simmons. You know, Ben Simmons is a good playmaker. Now, on to the Chicago Bulls. Now, this is my team, and I talked about this a couple months ago, but I want to touch on it again. Our interior defense was just dog shit. We had some good perimeter defense before Lonzo and Caruso went out, and we still had solid perimeter defense with players like Ayo stepping in, but it would always just go downhill when people would drive on us and they would get inside the paint. Our big man rotation consists of Nikola Vucevic, Tristan Thompson, and Dennis Jones Jr. and Javonte Green. We need some interior defense, nigga. As you gonna be a hoe in the paint the whole game?
That's tough. Feel me? That's tough.
Now, obviously, like I stated, we have no big man rotation. And our playmaking after Lonzo went out just plummeted, bruh. I don't understand what happened. It's like we couldn't bring the ball up the court at that point anymore, and we had to rely on isolation scoring. Now, time for the Toronto Raptors. Now, the Raptors are a pretty well-built team, not many holes, getting a better playmaker. Let Fred VanVleet be a scorer. That's something the Raptors can do. All around, upgrading your bench. I like OG Anunoby coming off the bench. Maybe get some big man rotation up in there so that you can have OG Anunoby come off the bench, because I know they were starting like him, Scotty, and Pascal Siakam all at the same time, and Chris Boucher. And I'm like, golly, bruh. Y'all don't want to put one of them on the bench, because they're all great players. And obviously, the last thing is to just let Scotty Barnes develop. He showed you great promise his first season. Won Rookie of the Year, averaged like 17 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. So if you just let him blossom into the player he'll be, I think he could easily be a 24-10 type of guy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we get into the nitpicking zone. Teams that don't really have necessary weaknesses or glaring weaknesses, just little nitpicks that they can upgrade. And the first team we're going to talk about is the 76ers. I like what they did in free agency, picking up a point guard and DeAnthony Melton, signing a PJ Tucker. I didn't like the contract they gave PJ Tucker, but I like the signing. I think the bench could use a little more retooling, but when you can have at least 1 or 2 starters in a game with your bench, and I believe that's what the Sixers do. They run like an 8-9 man rotation. Then it's not that big of a deal, but it's something to look out for. It's specifically the shooting guard and small forward position, because you don't really have anyone to play that position off the bench. At least your backup center is a bit worrisome. I believe they lost DeAndre Jordan. To be honest, DeAndre Jordan wasn't that good anyways. I don't know why they signed that nigga. But the backup center position for the 76ers is definitely iffy. And that should have been one of the main things they looked towards, seeing as Joel Embiid isn't the most healthy player. Maybe they'll have PJ Tucker play the 5 for a little bit while Embiid sits, like Harden did with PJ Tucker in Houston with Daryl Morey. Maybe they want to redo something like that. Now, time for the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks really are the most well-rounded team in the league. They had the good perimeter defense. They had the good interior defense. The ability to switch. Bench is great for the most part. So the backup point guard spot is something that's a little iffy. They have players like George Hill giving them inconsistent play. Players like Isaiah Carter giving them inconsistent play. And that low-key hurt them in the playoffs last year. Their entire guard play was inconsistent throughout the whole season, from Jrue Holiday to their bench. If Giannis would have had even a little bit of consistency from Jrue Holiday, I think they would have won that series in 6. Now for the Boston Celtics, get you all a facilitator. I'm not saying get you all a true point guard, how people claim that you need. You need Marcus Smart on your team. He's the grit and grind player. What you need is a facilitator. Someone who doesn't need to average 8, 9 assists. I'd rather have 6 assists with 1 turnover than 12 assists with 7 turnovers. See what I'm saying? The Celtics could use more 3-point shooters. I know it seems like everyone on their team can shoot a 3, but honestly, besides the 2 best players, Grant Williams and I can't remember, but it's another player that shoots around 35+% on the Celtics. There's only about 4 Celtics players that shoot above league average from 3. You can use more 3-point shooters, space out the floor. I like what you do with Al Horford. Obviously, he's a below average shooter, but he's a stretch forward. I think you should keep him for next year. And he's great for your big man rotation. And lastly, Jason Tatum just needs to play like Jason Tatum. I'm tired of him taking all of these fadeaways and tough mid-range fall-away shots. Like he's Kobe or something, bro. Kobe could hit those shots. But you know why he took those shots? Because he can hit them. You can't hit those shots, clearly, my nigga. So just play like you, man. And if you develop that in your game, then hey, I would love for that to happen. I love seeing people progress. But right now, we just need Jason Tatum to play like Jason Tatum. Now, lastly, for the #1 team in the East, we have the Miami Heat. The Heat have some glaring weaknesses, and that being the offensive consistency outside of Jimmy Butler. You got a player like a Bam Adebayo, who averages around 15, 16 points, but those aren't points manifested by him. He doesn't create his own shot like that. He's restricted to basically inside the free throw line. As a big man today, you would want them to at least have a mid-range shot. You got a Tyler Hero coming off the bench, but he didn't get to play that much in the playoffs this season.
I lost.
I don't know why. And yeah, just look to add size. You know, this team lost a lot of size in free agency with a PJ Tucker. They lost Markieff Morris in free agency. Bam Adebayo is probably the only legitimate big man on the team besides Dwayne Dedmon, but Dedmon is not that good. Lastly, their playmaking, it took a nosedive after Kyle Lowry went down. The playmaking on this team outside of Kyle Lowry can definitely use an adjustment. Tyler Hero could look to become a better playmaker, coming off the bench, helping the bench scoring second unit. I like the playmaking of Gabe Vincent, a player that I didn't even know about until this year. Averaged about 4 assists to 1 turnover, shot the 3 well. I like what they do in Miami, finding these non-big name players and just having them play well. Yeah, man, that's going to do it. That's the end of the video. These are a couple things each NBA team can improve on. Eastern Conference Edition. Be looking out for the West. Give me 20 likes and I'm going to drop the West this week, man, for sure. And I'm out, niggas. Deuces.